Update, my girlfriend of 4 years and I both tested positive for chlamydia and I don't know how to handle the situation. Well, I now know how I got chlamydia. I got a lot more comments than I expected on my previous post, most of them saying I should snap out of the delusion, but also some alternative suggestions of how it might have happened. People suggested that she might have lied about me being her first. At first I didn't think this could be it as we are both very feminist, and progressive generally, so it didn't feel like something she'd lie about. We are not religious either, but who knows, we had only known each other for about a year when we got together and maybe she got freaked out. Some people also suggested she might not see oral as losing V card, but we both do. The other possibility that seemed likely was that she had been S8 and either don't remember or didn't want to tell me. Anyway, after work I stopped by a youth clinic and did a new test just to make sure, as someone suggested. When I got home I spent the evening trying to figure out how best to ask her about these possibilities. I'm either suggesting she might have lied to me or possibly bringing up trauma, so I wanted to make sure I did it in the best way possible, but I won't have to worry about that anymore. Luckily she hasn't been S8 and unfortunately she didn't lie to me about being a virgin. The morning of my last post, I was eating breakfast and watching YouTube on our shared iPad like I usually do. I remembered that the iPad is logged into her Snap account. Just to make sure, I checked. If she's cheating, surely Snap would be where she's talking to this guy, right? Didn't see any unfamiliar names. I did however see that she had an unread message from my best friend's girlfriend, female 23. I don't know why but I checked it. It said, "Gonna get tested today." At first I thought that they had just discussed it. They are friends after all, and she had decided to get tested as well. But I scrolled up and saw the conversation they had yesterday and well, I got cheated on. My girlfriend woke up about 5 minutes later and immediately asked me what was wrong. She said I looked pale. I sincerely apologized. Going through her private messages is not okay after all, and told her what I had seen. She came clean immediately. My best friend's girlfriend had only ever been with men, and my girlfriend had only ever been with me. Apparently, they were both questioning if they were bi, so while my best friend, male 24, and I were at the gym they were hanging out at my best friend's place, like they usually do. That day the curiosity got the best of them and they made love. This was last year and she assures me it hasn't happened since and won't happen again. I'm not really sure how to feel right now. I always imagined that if I got cheated on I'd feel crushed, but I'm surprisingly neutral over it all. I don't know. My biggest worry right now is how I'm gonna tell my best friend about it. They've been together for almost 2 years and his New Year's resolution this year was to propose to her. He's gonna be crushed and I hate to think about it. We're going to the gym after work today so I'll tell him then. Just need to figure out how.
The school left my autistic daughter at Disney World, and she was found at a hotel with a random stranger. I'm still pissed off at the school for doing this. My daughter who is 14 has autism. She has been talking about going to Disney for the field trip non-stop and as a mom who wants nothing more for her to be happy, I let her go under the conditions that someone supervises her, which the school agreed there would be a teacher with her. I had to work that day and I couldn't get that time off to go with her, and I trusted the school to keep her safe. She was supposed to spend 1 day at Disney, no hotel stays. I dropped her off at the school at around 6 a.m. and sent her off and came back at around 10 or 11 p.m. I have waited in my car for her, and she has not shown up. I had to get out and ask around if anyone has seen her. None of the teachers knew where she was. I then received a phone call from the Orlando police saying that they found my daughter at a hotel with another stranger whom she thought was the chaperone for the field trip. I got their address and drove the 3 to 4 hours to get to where she was. First thing that happened when I went to pick her up at the police station was that she ran to hug me and cried, saying she's sorry. I asked if she was okay, but she never said anything outside of a nod. The stranger is already arrested. It was someone from the hotel that called the police, after they noticed suspicious behavior from him. If they're reading this, I want to thank them. I let her stay home from school for the time being and went the following Monday to speak with the school. I can assure you, I was livid and I didn't hold back against the people at the school, who stated that they told each and every student to be at the bus stop before 7, and the buses leave at exactly 7, so they made no attempt to look for her. They have no idea who this person who took my daughter to a hotel, and he was not one of their chaperones. I told them that I didn't care what their policy is. I didn't sign a permission slip for them to leave a special needs child at a theme park all alone, and they're responsible for her as long as she's in their custody. I had to be escorted off the school after my 10-minute tirade. I can only speculate what the stranger did to her, since she did not come forward to tell me what happened. In fact, she hasn't spoken a word at all and she refuses to leave her room except to eat. She never got on her computer. I'm speaking with lawyers to see if a lawsuit is possible. I don't know what to do. I feel like I failed my daughter as a parent. I want to get her into therapy, but I'm concerned she won't be comfortable enough to speak to a therapist.
Update, I found out my girlfriend is homeless. I ended up meeting Kat at the local park we usually walk through after she got off work earlier today since it's out in the open, yet still private enough to have a serious conversation. I told Kat that I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable or ashamed, but that I saw her at a line at a homeless shelter yesterday and wanted to talk to her if there was anything up or if she needed help. Kat immediately began to cry and showed her nervous tics, fidgeting around, wrinkling her nose, etc. She began stuttering on her words and I consoled her until she began to gather herself again. I told Kat that she didn't have to feel like she had to hide anything from me, and she began to open up about everything. Kat told me that she had been homeless for over a year. She grew up in a broken home after her dad passed away in Iraq when she was a kid back in 2006. Her mother fell into alcoholism and had pretty much blown whatever savings she had from the death gratuity she received and basically lived paycheck to paycheck. Despite this, her faith with the church was the only real thing that gave her stability and hope to carry on with her daily life. At 18, she joined the Marines because she wanted to honor her father and escape the life she had grown up with, although she ended up getting ELS, entry-level separation, and was chaptered out of the USMC due to her developing asthma while in basic. She ended up moving to her current city on the East Coast because she didn't want to return to California where her mother was. Kat ended up barely scraping by to where she saved up to buy her older car to sleep in away from the shelters around December of last year. Kat ended up sharing to me that she was on the verge of self-destruction around the time I met her and wanted to play up like she didn't have baggage and elaborated on how she didn't want to scare me off by admitting she was homeless. So she had me drop her off at the one apartment building and split the tab of our dates to appear like everything was normal. Truthfully, I felt gutted hearing her story. I had a feeling that things were probably bad for her, but I didn't think it was that bad. Kat showed me her DD-214. I'm currently an E5 in the Army Reserve, so I knew that her story was verifiable, as well as the pictures she had of her past. I told her that I wanted to help her out in any way and that I was open to having her move to my place with the added kicker that we could go to IKEA to get her a bed set to make my living room into her living space since I wanted to respect her physical boundaries that was in place from her Catholic faith. Kat was very hesitant because of her pride and she didn't want to come off like she was accepting a handout due to pity, but I reassured her that it wasn't with a handout or come with a catch. I told Kat that I loved her, first time I said that, and wanted to help her feel secure. She looked at me with a sort of disbelief and asked me if I really meant it, and I did. Kat reciprocated by saying that she loved me too and accepted. As far as the conditions go, I told her to meet me at 30% of the rent and to put whatever money she had into starting summer classes at the local community college and that she could stay with me for as long as she wanted if she felt comfortable with premarital cohabitation. Alas, thanks for the advice on everything. Our convo was a long one and took a lot emotionally from Kat, so she is currently crashing at my couch until she wakes up so we can get her bed at IKEA later tonight. Once again, thank you for giving advice as it really allowed me to vent on what was going on.
My boyfriend is cheating on me, but he doesn't realize it. My boyfriend John and I have been in a relationship for nearly 5 years. John is 25, and I'm 23. Throughout our time together, there's always been this one girl who has caused issues between us. This girl is the stereotypical girl that the guy tells you not to worry about. Let's call her Rachel. My boyfriend and her have been friends since close to the beginning of our relationship. We were all co-workers at one point, so I was familiar with her too. The first time we had an issue was a few months into our relationship, when she told him she loved him. He turned her down, but they continued their friendship and she moved out of the state. A few months after that, I went on a road trip with my mom, and he decided to take one with his best friend. They stopped near where she was now living, went hiking for the day, and she asked if she could share their hotel room for the night so she didn't have to drive back tired. Mind you, the hotel room had 2 queen beds. My boyfriend's friend didn't want to share the bed, and both him and Rachel convinced John that I wouldn't mind if they slept in the same bed. They didn't ask me. I would have said no. She moved back to the state for the summer after that, and they hung out periodically. A few months later, she asks John to help her move out of state again. She needed help transporting her stuff. This road trip would have entailed a 2-week car drive, and staying at her new place to help her move in. John asked me if I would mind if he went. I said I would. I didn't want him to go, and would consider that inappropriate. He got mad, but respected my wish. Things were good and quiet for a while, until she moved back a few months ago. It started at the gym. She joined the one we go to. John and I work out on different splits, but at the same time in the mornings. She started following his workout split, and joining in when they were close. Then she started flirting and touching him. I had a conversation with him about how uncomfortable that made me, and how I would like him to set boundaries with her. I didn't want to tell him to cut her off completely, mostly because he thought ultimatums like that were toxic girl behavior. So I let them continue, thinking he would talk to her. The touching and flirting continued and worsened, and I learned later that he had never talked to her about those boundaries. It went from just at the gym, to hanging out at her house. My family isn't in the picture, and I know he craves the attention and love that comes with a family like hers. So he started going more often, stopped asking me if he could go, stopped even telling me he was going and started lying about it, telling me he was with friends, or picking up food. I can see his location, so I know when he's over there. I started getting paranoid, and started checking his location every time he didn't respond to a text, or Snapchat. He was there. With her. Almost every time. Today, I went to work, same as usual, but let him know I would be off early. He said he would be home when I got home and we could watch TV and hang out. I messaged him 2 hours ago that I was heading back. He didn't open the message for an hour, so I checked. He's with her. They went out together. He put her over plans with me. I don't think they are physically involved from what I can tell and what he has told me, but I can't be sure about that. He's been distant. I've been depressed. He pretended to care and pretended to want to fix things. I can't tell if he's genuine, or he's just staying with me through obligation. Is this cheating? Am I overthinking this? I made my boyfriend pay for an Uber because he didn't get me off. I usually drive my boyfriend to work because he doesn't have a valid license. DUI. The charges were dropped, but he doesn't drive anymore. Tonight we went out drinking because my birthday is tomorrow, and we made love afterwards. We made love for about an hour. I asked him to give me top after I gave him top, and he said no. I was annoyed by this, but let it progress. Halfway through, I asked if I could get on top to grind so I could finish from my bean. That's the only way I can finish. After 5 minutes of asking, he finally let me. But he wouldn't get fully stiff, and when he finally did, he immediately put it in. So, I didn't finish. Then we went to missionary-ish and he finished. He had bad hiccups, so I helped him get rid of them. Then I asked him to use his hand to help me finish. He said no. So I said okay, then I'll just do it myself and started to slide my hand down. He said I need to go somewhere else with that and that it's gross. I asked him like 20 times why he called it gross that I wanted to finish. He said it's gross for me to just self-pleasure next to him. Saying how would you feel if I was just self-pleasuring next to you? I said yeah, except you get to finish every time. How is it gross that I want to finish too? His response was a continuous stream of shut up and leave me the hell alone. Eventually I gave up on trying to finish. I was crying because he called me gross for this. So I just asked him to please cuddle me. He refused. He kept telling me to leave him alone and to stop bothering him. I said please, cuddling literally takes no effort. He still kept telling me to just leave him alone. So I said okay, then you can Uber to work tomorrow. I mean, I kinda feel bad, but at the same time, I just asked for him to care about me too and he didn't. This isn't a one-time thing. Every time we make love he never cares about my pleasure or making me finish. He will only give me top if we do 69, so he is receiving too. I have told him I cannot finish like that because I have to be solely focused on the feeling and he just doesn't care. It just sucks. I feel like a warm hole instead of an equal partner, and I wish he would care about me finishing and enjoying myself too. Would I be wrong if I refused to drive him to work and make him Uber because he refused to get me off too? I think I'm going to stand on my decision when we wake up, whether that makes me a jerk or not.